And also, Payam,
Yeah. Go ahead.
hi. Hi, everybody. Since the
Hi.
recording started.
Yeah.
And Payam, when you show your slides, you might want to record it as speaker rather than gallery so people can really see it.
How do I do that? I just press record button.
Up on the upper left, you see where it says view?
Yeah. Put on speaker. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Cool.
So welcome everyone to the recording. And Payam, go ahead.
Yeah. Welcome everyone. So I'm gonna share my screen. I got one more person to let in here. Just join.
Okay, so as Payam is doing that, welcome everybody. We so appreciate you joining us for our very first Zoom around a topic which we're all passionate about. And it's so timely right now, with what's happening in the financial markets. And so here's an opportunity for us to really have a real conversation about it as a community because it's something we all care about. And I just want to let you know that, Paya mentioned that this is really going to just be an ongoing conversation among our community. So all of that is going to be done here on this platform, our own Light Down online community. All right. Because, with WhatsApp, trying to do these real deep conversations is very difficult. So whereas here, it's going to be very easy to do that. And we'll be able to just follow everybody's thoughts and, emerging ideas that come out. All right. So again, welcome all.
Cool. Thank you, Ruby, for the intro. So this isn't meant to be a conversation. I just put together a couple slides just to depict how I think about, money, energy, which end of the day is what money is. Money is a tool that's used to transfer energy, and it's also a store of energy. So money acts as both things. I'll say it again. It's a tool that's used to transfer energy, and it's a store of energy. That's what money is, okay? And everything that we do can be thought of as energy, right? It's like the one of the thermodynamic laws of nature. Energy is not lost. Energy goes somewhere, it's transformed. Okay. So, and everything in the world can be thought of as an entity. Okay. Literally everything. So you as a person is an entity. Your family is an entity. The company you might work for or have worked for is an entity. The government is an entity. And every entity has three things in common. One is the person or the people that are part of that entity. Two is energy in, three is energy out. Okay. So I put some examples here to depict that concept. So this first one on the left side here, where it's a person, the person or you as an individual make up that entity. And then your energy out is the work that you do. You're being productive. It's how you're spending your time, right? So that's your energy. So that's your energy being spent. And then for that work or how you're spending your time, you have income, you have money in. It could be the US dollar in your bank account, right? So that's the money in, that's the energy in, as I mentioned. Okay. Take it to another level. Another entity is let's say a company that you work for, right? Now the company that you work for has many people that are part of that company or that organization. So again, that entity has many people. And then the energy out is the products or services that are being delivered. And then the energy in is the revenue made, which in most cases in the US is US dollars, which is the energy in. Taking it a little bit step above that, as a company on the right, we have a government like the US government. The US government also has these three things in common. There's the people, which are comprised of the US citizens, the people living in the US, right? So it's the people. And then the energy out is the public services and spending that the government does. That's the energy out. And the energy in is taxes. It's how the government has money in, right? They collect money from its people. So As you could see, every entity in the world, whether it's you as an individual, it's a company that you work for, a family, or the government, has these three concepts in place: the people, energy in, energy out. Okay. Now, the US dollar is a composition of the government, right? The US dollar is number of dollars in circulation is essentially the market cap of the government of this US entity, the US dollar, right? The number of US dollars in circulation is essentially the market cap, which is again, everything could be captured as a market cap as well. An entity, a company has its valuation, right? The government entity has dollars in circulation, which could be thought of as the market cap of the US dollar. And a person has their own net worth, right? Which is total assets under their ownership. Okay. So the next slide here is where the direction of these things are moving, how I think about money, right? So when you think about these currencies, the energy is always going somewhere. So I'm using the example of LightDAO here, okay? So LightDAO is an entity, okay? Now, our members will start paying us mostly in US dollars, right? So now that energy in is coming in USD. And where does that energy go? It goes into our token, which is our currency or our equity. Every member gets equity, okay? So you could see here, just from the simple diagram, right? Like I said, everything has the people, which we're the members, we're the people, we're a subset of the LightDAO organization, right? We have energy in. I've put in a lot of time. I've put in a lot of US dollars into this entity so far. And as members grow and more people join, more and more US dollars come in. But US dollars don't necessarily go out, right? It's what's going out is this concept of Light Token, which ends up being our currency that we use to trade internally. And so the thesis that I have, and is my personal theory of like how the currencies start moving is, well, if there's a situation where people start moving US dollars, or the market cap of the US dollar in terms of dollars in circulation decrease, well, where does it go? And if the future is DAO-based organizations or currencies that are more digital, there starts becoming a movement of the energy from one currency to other currencies, like Light Token being an example. So that I'm going to pause there, and I want this to be a conversation because, this is just, I put this together. So I'd love to get like everyone's feedback, thoughts, how you're thinking about investing, so we can have a more open discussion and conversation.
So Payam, do you want to put it back into gallery now as we're going to conversation so we can see everybody?
For sure.
Great.
Yeah.
So welcome all the people who just joined us. Hi, Maggie, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if I have $50 and I get $50, or if I get $100, those are two different amounts. So if I'm giving energy, does certain energy have inherently more value than others?
Well, we're all doing work and it's valued. I mean, this is my perspective, right? Like, different people do different work, right? So the perception of that value is different. The perception of value is what's tied to that, $50 or $100 for, like, let's say an hour of work.
But who defines what someone's worth?
We all are. When you make an agreement with your employer or somebody that you're doing business with, how are you deciding how much you should get paid for that work that you're doing?
So I'm just saying, do you equate USD with somebody's efforts? I just want to make sure the paradigm is really clear.
Well, in the context of LightDAO as the example that I used, you know, when members start contributing to the DAO, most people will be we will accept other currencies, but most people will be transferring their money to us in US dollars. But then we don't send it out in US dollars, right? We might send it out in US dollars to some people for like our salary or in our team, but then a lot of it gets stored in this wealth called the equity of the tokens that we give each person for those dollars in. So dollars came in, but dollars didn't go out.
I feel like it's like when we were like looking at intro only and how people had different, it's this app where you can hire someone's time, and some people like are $750 for 15 minutes, but it's self-regulated. And then I guess intro only approves that, but I think they get to set their price. I think the only way to make especially artists feel comfortable with what their value is worth is letting them, negotiate on their own behalf. And then, you know, we can all as a community decide if it's worth it. But that way, at least people feel like we respect them and we're not defining what someone's worth. Just a hunch. I just want to make sure everyone feels very cared about here.
For sure. And just for reference, for those that aren't familiar with Intro, it's a platform that recently launched where you can go and pay you know, $750 or whatever this person sets as their rate for, I believe it's like 15 minutes of their time as usual. So for this person, $750, does it say how long? 15 minutes. Yeah. So everybody sets their own rate. This guy like Nate Berkus, I don't know, celebrity interior designer.
He's a designer. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
But do you envision maintaining an exchange rate, you know, between the US dollars and the token?
Yeah, and the members always define that rate. So we define it as a community. Now, just as a starting point, we've set it, but moving forward as we grow, because when you buy your membership, we're giving you tokens. Which is like membership balance, and then that membership balance can go up or down depending on how much you contribute to the community. So the more you contribute, the more your balance goes up or your equity goes up. The more you extract, your balance goes down. So for example, you know, if someone has if someone holds a gathering, like let's say Ben holds an investor poker night for Light DAO, right? And we have and let's say there's, you know, kind of a cost to attend that gathering, right? Like just a cleaning fee or whatever it is. And each person puts in some tokens, 10 tokens to join that gathering, then those tokens would get transferred to the host. So the people attending pay the tokens, and the person who's contributing or hosting receives those tokens. It doesn't have to be any tokens, but it also depends on the event or the gathering. It's just a mechanism used within the community to transfer that energy.
You know, I guess where I'm pointing is the organization going to, you know, maintain liquidity? In other words,
yes,
you know, so there will be a posted exchange rate of some sort where people can go in and out at will, or are you
but in the near future, not immediately, because you know, very, very immediately, we don't want money out of our bank account.
Right. You're going to control withdrawals. Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. For now, at least.
No, I get that. Yeah, you know, it's sort of, you know, sort of like a REIT or something where you're locked in for at the time.
And by the way, that when we say those words, we all decide together, right? There's a vote on how governance works.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I just wanted to be clear that every member will vote on these things in the future. And right now, you know, since we're just starting out, a lot of these kind of things have been set, but then as we continue to grow and learn and we'll decide together and vote, and proposals will go out, and everyone will vote on it, and everyone has different voting power because everyone has different number of tokens in their balance in their wallet.
Is there anything to stop somebody from amassing
Yeah.
too many tokens in control?
We have a mandate to become more and more decentralized over time. So as the founder, I currently have the most tokens, and my token balance can only go down. It can't go up. And so the person who has the maximum can never go up, or I can't buy more. I can only sell.
Okay. Just basically just a cap,
It's a cap.
Yeah.
The cap is always the person who has the most.
I'm confused, but that cap is not locked. That cap is not fixed.
No, the cap can only go down.
The cap. Okay, so there is a cap. If it can only go down, that's a cap, right?
Right.
Like, so whatever number you have right now, that's the maximum that anybody can ever hold.
Correct. Which is 34%.
Okay. All right.
So 34% is currently what I hold. 41% is in the treasury for our other core team members, other operators. 20% is for other investors or members that want to purchase more coins. And then 5% goes to the first about 1,000 members. And then let's say we want to go from 1,000 members to 10,000 members. And when we decide to do that, then the value of the overall entity in the community, maybe didn't 10x, right? Because there's generally going to be some level of degradation of quality, but maybe we 6x'd, for example, in value. And just like any other kind of, fundraise, we give up, let's say 20%. So we issue 20% new tokens to those new 10,000 people that join.
Yeah, I mean, dilution.
Dilution, correct. Yeah. So and we'll keep doing that as the community grows. And every time we do that, we vote on how many more people should we allow and how many tokens should we give those new people that join as members.
I mean, I guess is there anything to prevent people from forming blocks of control?
Blocks of withdrawal, what do you mean?
No, blocks in control. In other words, let's say you and the second largest holder were to align with each other so that you have, a 51% holding, at that point, do those two people basically control the entire DAO?
Yeah, I mean, as of now, I effectively kind of do to a certain extent because I have more than 50% of the treasury of the issued tokens. So it's already kind of like that with the mandate to become more decentralized, right? So I think something like that, there's no intention to ever do anything like that, Michael, but it is an interesting point.
I mean, yeah, I'm only asking because it's just one of the, the central issues, right? Whenever you have anything that's decentralized, is the potential for, a group of, whales or whatnot to basically control the marketplace.
Yeah. So coming back to, I guess, the kind of the main topic, I do want to have this really be kind of the banking crisis, kind of money investment conversation. I was using LightDAO as an example of how I see the future of money flowing. Even taking, for example, the latest event with the president of France having a 6-hour meeting with President Xi of China and talking about developing more autonomy as a superpower for these various states. What are thoughts around how and then obviously taking the banking crisis and what's happened with inflation, right? So if more people start moving money out of US dollars, then that means that banks will not have as many assets under management. And does that mean then that more banks continue to go under? And if that were to happen, then you have an effect where the Fed needs to start printing potentially more money to help backstop. And if the Fed is printing more money, then that means that the value of the dollar goes down. So, there's more in circulation. So these are all kind of hints and trends that I'm seeing that are continuing to point towards the dollar, you know, devaluing itself. What are others' thoughts, and how are you looking at investing your money?
Chaim, can you stop sharing screen right now? Because most of us, we're looking at the intro. Oh, great. Thank you. That did it.
Yeah. I'd love to get others' thoughts on how they're thinking about investment, long-term strategy, you know, where you're putting your money. So you know, right, I officially, you know, minus my holdings of my company that I still run, like Obi, I personally exited the US dollar denominated savings because of what I shared earlier, and I know some of you joined later, with the intention that I believe that the US dollar will be deflationary and will lose more value relative to other currencies. And so there's no reason for me to hold on to those denominated securities. Even also kind of the what's it called, like stocks, right? Like I'm long on entities that think more DAO based, where it's a more community first approach to developing an organization. And if more and more companies move from being a C Corp to a DAO based structure, then if that trend continues, which I personally believe will, then all of those DAO based entities will have their own currency, which means there'd be a move energetically from dollars to these currencies that are now being you know, circulated within that DAO organization.
So
Right, but basically,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so basically, I mean, if you look at, you know, historical, right? Basically what you're saying is that if we analogize, you're basically creating virtual currencies instead that will replace country currencies.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, because if we're saying that the dollar is going to be is going to be deflationary, and then the question then goes to, okay, so what else? If we look at other national currencies, okay, fine, Europe, no one's interested, you know, China, very risky, right? Like, who else is there? And then you think, okay, well, then alternatively there's property, but then property depend on the host market or host nation states economy. So then essentially what you're saying is that in the DAO based currencies, or the entities that think about DAO based currencies, you're saying that nation states will be replaced by entity formations that are run on digital assets with basically a different mindset. So it's a transfer of actually power away from nation states to
people-led organizations
that are based in digital currencies.
It's a new paradigm of how we operate as people, and we operate from a power of community, as opposed to not that I'm saying that we don't need governments, right? It's like I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying that there is going to be, my belief, right? It's only my belief right now, that there is, because we're doing it here, right? That that there is going to be a transfer of energy from traditional fiat-based currencies to organizations, and that transfer of energy means that other fiat nation-state currencies will lose value. They're not going to lose all their value, but they will lose some of their value.
Yeah.
Well,
but then
where specifically have you moved the money to?
LightDAO.
Okay, so it's all in LightDAO now.
Yeah,
I mean, substantially.
I've energetically put all of my resources, my time, and my equity into LightDAO.
So the money in the
I think
treasury.
Michael's asking about dollars. Where's
Yeah,
your dollars?
My dollars are going into LightDAO, literally.
Or specifically how, right? Like, so
I'm paying team members, right? We're giving equity So I'm supporting Light DAO operations right now until our membership grows.
Right.
Okay.
I have a question. Payam, I know like you're currently like looking for, potential like these lighthouses, these beacon houses. What if we bought real estate and then we all owned it? Because that's
That's the plan. It's not individual. The DAO owns it, and
that's what I mean.
So as our, let's say, excuse me, let's say we hit a few home runs because our members are rockstar entrepreneurs, right? And the DAO every month invests. We're kicking that process off. I'm going to send a note out to the group in the next few days, right, where we officially kick that process off. So we're going to start investing as a community, as a membership in our rock stars, right? And some of those are going to hit, right? And when they do, that means our treasury is going to grow. Now, what do we do with the funds that we have? And this came up. Well, we're not distributing profits to each person. We buy really cool houses. We do, we figure out other cool things of way to invest our resources back into the community, and it becomes a benefit for everybody. So
I just put in something as well. If I had, $1 million, and I will, because I believe in this project, at least, but I would say real estate and also fine art. So Masterworks, I think I don't know if you guys have heard of them. You buy small pieces of like Basquiat's, of like bigger art. And it's, it's not a DAO, but it's interesting. And I'm wondering, like, if we go after, let's say, a Banksy or something, is that also a model? Like, are we also looking, I'm just trying to think of assets that, will be valuable in the future to safeguard our investment.
Yeah, I mean, I think the world is our oyster in terms of where we want to think about investing our assets. Real estate is obviously one of the, kind of bedrocks of society. Land, right? Land doesn't really go away, at least not yet. So I think investing in land and real estate is a safe haven, full stop. I will always invest in real estate. I think the DAO should as well, but that's also something that we as a community will vote on.
So, Payam, can I jump in? Because I came a little bit late and I apologize for having to leave early.
Yeah, Ashwini, it's been a minute.
Hi, good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So just to summarize, right, like from what I'm hearing on the concept right now, you've already invested in the DAO, you're issuing a token sale, you want us to buy in, and those tokens are going to be used to fund or take equity investments in people's startups within the DAO, or no? Is that accurate?
No, I know. Yeah, you thank you for the
I'm
question.
missing something. I'm missing something along the way.
Yeah, it's all good. Good to see you, Ashwini.
Hi, guys.
I'm going to be in New York in a month. We're going to host a Light DAO event when I'm there towards the end of May. So I'm definitely hoping to see you in person. So think of tokens as your membership balance.
Okay.
Okay. So you become a member, you get tokens. And those tokens then that represent your membership balance can go up or down depending on, I'm going to give the overview, but I would like to get back to the money conversation because this is specific,
Sure.
right? But the token balance is, can also represent your equity because it's your voting power. It's also how we interact within the community. So you use your tokens to go to our events or our gatherings. If you're a host or a contributor, your equity balance goes up. If you're somebody that only like attends or somebody, we call it maybe more extractionary versus giving or contributing, then your token balance goes down. So if you attend stuff only, if you're only like making requests to the community, that's when your token balance would go down. If you're somebody who's contributing, who's helping organize events and gatherings, whatever, and other forms of contribution that we continue to define as we grow, then your token balance goes up. So that's what the token represents. It's your membership balance.
Okay.
And then when we make it available in the future, your tokens could also be sold back to the treasury potentially for like other currencies like dollars or other cryptocurrencies.
Okay. And then the whole conversation about buying land, I didn't follow then why that.
So we're investing every month in member entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So our members,
tokens.
I'm sorry?
That's outside of the tokens.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So we
Yeah, there's so many new
That's where I was
people here.
missing it.
Yeah.
There was actually a whole conversation about this in the last town hall meeting. So that recording that goes into all this in detail is actually available because this
Okay,
is all
cool.
going to be coming up over the next week or so. And then again, I appreciate, we've had so many of you just join us in the last few days, in the last week or so. So, this is a quick summary, but all that detail is there under important announcements. Okay? So.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Ashwini, we could do a one-on-one separately after, to go into that in more detail, because there's a lot of detail on how the tokenomics work.
Okay, no, it would be great. I'm super interested in it. It sounds very cool, and it seems like a great group of people. I just wasn't like following the chain between the tokens and then the investment piece, but it seems like they're parallel rather than like integrated at the moment.
Oh, we're pirates, man. We're quite a crew.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So what are, Ben, I'm curious, you've managed money for a while, professionally. What are your thoughts on the movements of currencies and kind of the next kind of 6, 12, 24 months? How are you thinking about it?
Yeah, sure. So for those who don't know me, I'm from more of a traditional finance background. I run a couple of hedge funds focused on Asian equities. I guess the way I think about currency, I agree with what you said, Payam, that generally government currencies are going to be inflationary and lose value over time. I think that's certainly proven to be the case in the US ever since we went off the gold standard in 71. And so I would expect that to continue. I tend to keep very little cash on hand and primarily invest in companies. Personally, mostly it's publicly traded companies, but I think whether it's startups or companies that are generating equity and revenue and income, I think and also things like land and property, I think are great assets to own. I think the DAO concept, while I don't have a lot of experience in it, is really interesting. I guess where I'm a little bit maybe less, one experience, but also perhaps a little more skeptical than maybe others in the group, are just around the benefit of investing in cryptocurrencies in general. Like I would generally prefer to invest in assets that I know are generating cash flow, which may be true for some cryptocurrencies, but I don't think it's true for all of them. So that's just my perspective, but I'm definitely interested in the DAO concept and learning more about it by being involved in this group.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, really, end of the day, what it boils down to is what's the value being created, right? It's not about the currency, it's about the value, right? The currency is just how the energy is flowing in and out. But it comes down to the value that's being created. If you go back, if I go back to this simple slide that I drew up, right? I'll show it again. Let me show it again here. Because I think some people may have came after, right? This is a simple diagram, right? Where if a person is doing work and they're creating value, they're going to get a lot of income, right? On the left here. So it comes down to the value that person is doing. And that's true of not just the person, but it's also true of the people that are working at a company, right? How much value is being created by the products or the services that the company is doing, right? How much value is being created by the US government? Do we need to, this is actually a little back and forth that I had with Ashwini a couple of days ago, is the US military, which is currently a big value kind of suck, if you want to call it, right? Because a lot of the dollars that we put in terms of taxes goes into the industrial military complex, right? Is that thing going to continue to grow, or is that thing going to continue to, decrease over time, right? I mean, that's, what's the thesis there? My thesis is that, yeah, sure, we're in a war right now, but are wars like this going to continue? Well, if we continue to spread light and, come with our values of love and helping expand, then I would say no, right? Because a lot of the technologies, all the products, a lot of the capabilities of building community, we're helping each other do better in life, both personally and professionally. And the more we help others and we have, these conversations with heads of state, like my personal mission is to go and sit down with, the president of Turkey, who's, causing a lot of harm to his citizen, putting people in jail because of, under a guise of being corrupt and trying to overthrow the government, or the Ayatollah of Iran, or, or Putin or whoever it is, right? Like, I want to have a sit down conversation with these people and really like go deep into their soul and resolve whatever it is that's causing them to come from fear and scarcity. So the more we do that, the more, or the less we have of a need for spending and a lot of the value that we put into like military. So, so coming back, like, I agree, Ben, right? Like it comes down to the value, and it's not, and value is derived from the word values, or, values, or the other way around, right? So it comes down to what are the core values that you hold, and that being that represents our values ultimately is the value that we create. And so the more aligned with the values we are in whatever we do, whatever products or services we create, the higher the value that's going to be and the more impact it's going to have. So, Ashwini, you just said, I think it's a value add, but different perspectives.
I mean, my argument is like, I mean, look, like, I think we just see it differently, but I see your point clearly, right? And I think that, the stuff, I'm not an economist. And so when we think about the dollar, like, it's a complicated question. I think there's a lot of views around it, but I'm glad that we're having this discussion. And in terms of crypto and where it goes, I think it's a good, I mean, it's NFT NYC week. I've been going to a lot of events, and like, what I'm curious about is, I think the DAO concept, like Ben was saying, like, I'm really excited to get involved because I know Payam, I trust him. And I think that, like, this is the type of place where you'd want to invest your money because you think that there's a high level of ethics. I would like, that's driving the investment forward. I think what I'm really excited about is, more so like, how do we work as a community to think about investment, and how do you choose projects? Why are you investing in it? How are we pooling money? And how does that work long term, really in a big aggregated and decentralized way? Because so far, no one's been able to do it super well. And that to me, like, the mechanics and the structure and like kind of like how you create it as a organization is really compelling. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. I think the political views on where it goes and doesn't, like, I think that's
what we want to go into. We don't want to hold back. We want to get those different perspectives, right? Because that's how we all like learn and figure out what doesn't. It's like, that's why like Twitter is so great from that perspective. It's like you're kind of have this like public scrutiny of like all these different perspectives, and the more of those like different angles that you have, the more you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. Actually, okay, like, what is it actually that I'm doing? So, when you say it's a value add, to double click into that, are you talking about military specifically?
Yeah. I think in the United States, like, heard a really interesting conversation, right? Like, about how the US government should have come up with ChatGPT. Like, it shouldn't have been a private investment. And historically, when you look at the military and places like that, they came up with GPS and all these things, like, because as the investment comes into, quote unquote, the military industrial complex, like, but it creates a lot of technologies that come out of it, and that actually are used for public good. So it's complicated. I mean, I am very biased. My father worked at United Technologies and Pratt & Whitney and was a jet engineer for like 30 years. So I come from a background that like looks at this very differently. But I think that when we think about where we're moving forward, like, I did reflect on, Payam, you and I had that big debate like about the Macron comment, and I sent it to an advisor of Macron that I know really well. And he was saying, like, I told Payam this, like, he said it's 50% true as a comment, right? And Payam pointed out 50% true is like actually pretty true, like in the concept of like where we're going forward and like who controls money. Like, the biggest thing I learned from being in the crypto industry is, one, I never really understood the currency and securities that people had in other countries. And number two, the other thing I learned along the way of it was like, and I want to learn more, quite frankly, is that a lot of the reason the dollar has hegemony right now is like Bretton Woods and the agreements that happened post World War II. And that era is like coming to an end, as we know. So what happens with US currencies, like Ben and other people were saying, like, I don't know. Like, I'm a big US proponent. But like, I think that it's interesting to see it, right? Because like, there's all this energy moving in that direction, and crypto and stuff might be down right now. But I was at ETH Denver, and I never saw so many people building. Like, you know, people are building. There's energy in this industry, whether no matter what the price of like Ethereum or Bitcoin might be in the moment. So I think it's cool that we're doing this. I'll stop talking.
Yeah. You know what I think is so interesting, even though Payam, you posted this as sort of this macro topic, right? What are we going to do about currency and crypto and what's happening with banking and all that? You know, I see in a way we're kind of living and learning together, experimenting together on a micro level. Because you're talking about, okay, there's currency and then there's going to be the like DAO coin. So the whole question is, okay, what is the real value of alternative currency, and what's the real value of like US dollars still? All right. So I'm glad to hear many of you say that, you know, the reason that you're interested in Light DAO is that we're on the cutting edge, and none of us really know what the answer is, and we're learning together. And that's what attracted me also. And now I really see what we're doing, like I said, on a micro level is kind of happening on a macro level. This whole question, you know, as people are shifting their fiat into crypto, all kinds of crypto. And like we are all really don't know exactly what's going to happen. But where are we hedging our bets at this point?
And I think it's a fact that DAO is like a friend.
Cam, good to see you. Do you mind saying like your name and like who you are real quick?
Cam Hosen, I have known Payam for past 6 months. I've known, I don't know why, but John is next to you, John Kaplan, and then Ruby is under. So I know 3 of you, and all 3 of you are at the top, at least in my Zoom screen. I don't know, maybe Zoom somehow has the AI model that knows who are your closest friends and puts them on the top. But good to see you guys. I actually talked about DAO 2 years ago. I was sitting here, was speaking at a conference, virtual conference. I've been in technology for past, I don't know, 20 years. I'm old, I'm 57. So I'm in the category of, you know, you have serial entrepreneur and parallel entrepreneur. I do many things at the same time. I think DAO, I wanted to make a point that DAO being like a friend, not all friends are good friends. And if I do decide to work with a DAO, it's because of the people who are behind it, not because of its, you know, protocol or its guideline, because you could always fake those. You could always have, you know, some type of gaming that will override the initial foundation of DAO. So the reason I would be interested in, you know, Light DAO would be because of Payam, would be because of, you know, the people that he has brought into the circle, Ruby, John. And future, I believe all currency are going to go through inflation, not just dollar, all currency will. And going back to the US military, some people feel like US military could preserve the dollar, but I doubt it. Rome fell not because the Roman Empire was weak. It fell because it was very distracted. And I think we need to go back to forming small village of or like-minded people that come together and form another type of trust and trading among themselves. You know, some people say dollar is gonna fall. I'm gonna put my money into the equity market. I mean, private market has a different discussion, but public equity, I mean, I've looked at few companies that they have lost 95% of their value in the past year and a half. I mean, you could say, I'm going to put the money on the Apple and, you know, Amazon. I think their days are going to come too, because when they are dependent on the entire public market, suddenly you're going to have a crash in the market. I believe you cannot have a crash in real estate and not have a crash on Wall Street. It will come. So we need to go to the model that we create value and we form corporation together that is not based on just the contract, but it's algorithmic, that you can actually look at the details of the contract like a spreadsheet. And that's I think the future of the economy. But that's it. I like that because of the people who are behind it, because there could be 500 different DAO, and the one I like is the one that I know the founder. So good to see you.
Good to see you, Cam.
Picking up on the Bretton Woods conversation, you know, essentially what happened at Bretton Woods was it was an agreement, right, to peg everything to the US dollar. And that was in terms of like, what is hegemony made of? It's from a currency standpoint, it's all based on agreement from, like, value is agreement, right? As you said, and as we've seen it historically in the past. So the question is, how are we going to have agreement worldwide about DAO, right, in order to create its value? And then how does one do that when there's a cap on the members, on the number of members, and also balancing that with maintaining the quality of, you know, the participants? Because essentially, like, the factors that I see are going to be, you know, agreement, integrity, people, and then, you know, like the output of it, the impact that is made, right? The quality of the impact is made, the energy out, as you call it. So, you know, how does one create an environment of decentralization while still maintaining quality standards and thinking about, you know, in all those four categories?
Yeah, I actually have thought about this a little bit in terms of this concept of quality or, you know, community. And, you know, I think there's the Light DAO umbrella, and then there's the communities within that we're all a part of, right? So for example, there's the Dunbar's number, right? Which is like 150. So like our kind of tribe, like a theoretical kind of maximum that the size of our tribe is 150 people. And then 5 people is your family. The people that are there for you every day, in and out, like your mom, dad, siblings, like life partner, you know, kids, like, you know, that's 5, right? And then you have your soulmates, which is like 15, like people that you're connected to for life, like very deeply, you're like best friends. So I believe that's true for all of us. So even if we grow to 1,000 people in the next 6 months, your Dunbar's number is still 150. So even within the 1,000-person umbrella of Light DAO, you're going to be like, okay, what are my top 15 to 150? And that's true for all of us. Like we're not going to collect, you're not going to connect Gene as a person, like likely with, you know, and I love everybody here, but you're not going to connect as deep with all 14, 16 people that are on this call right now. You're just not, right? Even though we're here together as a membership and as a group, the people that you're soul connected to or might be like one or two of the people that are on this call, right? Like realistically. So, so I think conceptually that quality or that community that you're referring to is true, but that's not a limitation to how Light DAO grows.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff like with the people that we're operating with, like on this call, there's a handful of people that are on like the core operating team, like Burkai. I love calling you Burkai because I love you. And we had that special moment. So John has his name here, Ruby, Mike Chang, Maggie. So Hannah, she's blacked out. And you know, Max is here. He's a partner with Grateful Giraffes. We're figuring out how to merge more, right? So, you know, there's a handful of people on this call that are part of the core team, and we're behind the scenes, the kind of engine that's making this thing move right now. And so this concept of community and like working groups, right? So we're gonna start setting working groups. So like, for example, making investments. Okay, there's gonna be a team that is kind of like focused on maybe doing due diligence, right? Every month when we make investments, there's going to be a team that focuses on content creation. There's a team that's focused on our, you know, incubator model. There's a team that's focused on developing our product or technology. So, and each of these little groups are going to have stronger bonds, right? Because they're working together every day. And so I think there's always going to be this opportunity to connect. And I think really end of the day, what it comes down to is, are we aligned on some of the core values that bring us together, even if they're not your top 15 people from a soulmate standpoint?
Yeah.
I know we're ending here. We have 1 minute left and I want to be conscious of everyone's time. And I know Ruby has another call at 11. So any, I guess, last thoughts on money and investing and where to move it?
I just wanted to mention the way to earn a token, not be just based on you put $1 and you earn it. It could be based on contribution.
Correct. Yep.
In today's market, information has value. And the reason I say that, for example, if I wanted to sell my home, I need a real estate agent. For a lot of projects, you really need to get either resources or investment. Sometimes you could earn tokens through bringing those type of resources or investors to a project. So that's another method that the Light DAO could operate.
Correct. Yeah. So that's, again, that's energy, right? Money is only one form of energy. Your time and your energy and contribution are another form of energy. So 100%, Cam, that's accurate. And that's exactly how we're operating already.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you again soon. And yeah, we have a couple more events, I think, and another couple more online sessions. Maybe Ruby, you want to quickly mention?
Yeah, so next week we're actually doing a meeting around Web3, AI, and crypto because there's so many of us who are in those areas. So that's just going to be more of like, you know, for us to meet and greet and find out what the amazing network of people, you know, because I'm part of the team, I get to see like more than most of you because it's kind of hard to see what people really do on WhatsApp. But my gosh, we have an amazing group of people and I really want to honor Payam, you know, because he's the one who's brought most of you in and introduced you. And then we also have a women's circle coming up in a couple weeks. So all those are on our online site. And then we're going to be continuing all these conversations, you know, on our online site, you know, because I'm sure a lot of you have deeper thoughts. Some of you that, you know, that didn't have a chance to speak today. This is not the end just because we're ending the session right now. This conversation is going to continue because this is so relevant for all of us. So thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.